Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today we're going to do a review of this Stihl GTA 26. It's a battery powered handheld, very small trimming chainsaw. It is a chainsaw. But the reason I bought this, I recently traded up my old home light and got this Stihl 251C. I really like this chainsaw. It's a great chainsaw, but once you cut a tree down and you're doing the limbs or you're trimming bushes around your house, or especially if you're climbing a ladder to trim a limb or something, it's just too heavy. So that's why I purchased this. I want to see how it works. So we're going to start out, we're going to open the box up, we're going to show you what's in the box. Then we're going to talk about the features. Then we're going to demonstrate using it. And then at the end, we're going to talk about the pros and cons, what we like, what we don't like. So let's get started. Now we're going to open the box up and see what's in here. Pull that back, lift this up, come out. It's got a nice little carrying case. Set the box over there. Carrying case got Velcro. It opens up just like that. You got your parts, you got your saw here. Stihl always includes a good instruction manual. They get a little wordy at times. I've looked through this previously and there's like 19 pages of warnings. I would recommend that you read these things. You know, most people are going to say, yeah, I knew that, but you know, it never hurts to read through the warnings that's in the manual. So I do recommend that you do that. And yes, I did look through them. Maybe I didn't read every word, but I did go through there. So anyway, we got the saw here. Slides out of the case. Nice little thing, very lightweight, handheld. Comes with a bottle of chain oil. I'll be showing you a little bit later how to use the chain oil. Your battery is right in this little compartment. Right there. And then this is your battery charger. Now I have taken this out already and charged the battery. And one thing I noticed about the battery charger and the instructions tells you if the little light is green or if it's blinking, it's charging the battery. If the little light is red, there's a fault of some sort. It could be because the battery's too hot. It could be because the battery's too cold, but it doesn't tell you what happens when the battery is fully charged. Well, I found out that when the battery is fully charged, the light just turns off. But the instruction manual doesn't tell you that. I was a little disappointed with that because like I said, it is a good instructions manual. I like it, but it just plugs into 110 volt power, charges your battery, one battery at a time. These are your batteries. Just plug them in there like that. It charges up. Like I said, I've already charged this one up, so it's good to go. This is your oil for the bar. The owner's manual does recommend that be cautious about always using the Stihl brand of oil, and I don't know that that's that big a deal, but I would definitely use oil that's made for chainsaw chains. So that's the oil that comes with it. And then here's your saw. It's got a nice little plastic cover that covers the chain. Little guard here flips up when you're cutting through something. Ergonomically, I like the handle on it. It's ambidextrous. If you're left-handed, you push down right here and you can pull the trigger. If you're right-handed, you push down there with your thumb and you can pull the trigger. If you don't do that, you can't pull the trigger. But it seems to fit really well. You've also got LEDs right here that'll tell you the status of your battery. So when your battery is plugged in, if you mash the little light, and you see I got all 4 lights, that tells me my battery is fully charged. And that basically is the features. Well, one other thing, this flips up. You can loosen it to get the chain off. You tighten it back down. There's no real adjusting screw for adjusting chain tension. The way you adjust the chain tension, and with our chain being new, it's tight anyway, but you just physically pull the bar out to get your chain tension and then tighten this down. There's no adjusting screw like you do on most larger chainsaws, but I think it'd be sufficient. The way they tell you to lubricate the chain, this thing does not have an automatic oiler. What you do is before you start, And I would recommend you do this without the battery in it. So I'm going to pull mine out right quick. But I tell you to pull the chain up and put a couple drops of oil in the guide bar, in the groove. Then slide your chain a little bit. You should do this with gloves on because you can cut your finger like that. But just a couple, 2 or 3 drops of oil in the groove of the bar, and that should lubricate you for that battery run. I've done some research online for this thing, and the biggest complaint I found is the batteries just don't last long. Most people will say 10 to 15 minutes of run time. I think the manufacturer says about 20 minutes, but that would, how much time you get out of the battery would have a lot to do with what you're cutting. If you're cutting small limbs, you're gonna get more time. If you're cutting wood that's 4 or 5 inches in diameter, it's gonna take a lot more power to cut that limb, that log, so your battery's gonna die quicker. So anyway, that basically is the features of the saw. Now on the case, it's a real nice case. After you got straps to hold everything in place, closes up, got a Velcro across there. I wish it closed up the ends a little bit. It does not, but the straps hold everything in place anyway. So it's a pretty nice little case to store everything in. And so basically that's the saw and the features. So there we have it. Neat little handheld, battery-powered cordless saw, chainsaw. Okay, all right. So we're out here, we're getting ready for our first cut with this new little hand-powered or handheld battery-powered chainsaw. And the first thing I'm gonna do is add the oil to the chains bar. Okay, got a little bit in there. Like I said earlier, you really should do that with gloves on, but I'm a hard-headed old redneck, so I didn't use my gloves. I did not have the battery in it though. So here's my battery, put that in. That makes it run. Now we're gonna cut a limb here. That was cool. Yeah, if you had limb loppers, you couldn't cut this limb with limb loppers. If I had my big chainsaw, like my Stihl 251C that I showed you earlier, it's just hard to get in here to handle that. But this thing is really cool. That is just so easy to cut. So let's cut a few more limbs off here. Just that easy. Now our bush is trimmed. We just got to haul the brush off now. That's going to be more trouble than trimming it. I really like this thing. Works really cool. Seems to work well. For stuff like this, it's just ideal. Okay, now we're going to try cutting something a little bit bigger. A lot of the videos that I've seen of them cutting a good sized log, they're cutting some really soft wood like pine or poplar or something. This is white oak. Let's see if we can cut this white oak. That's pretty impressive to me. Let's do it again. I like that. I think it does a real good job. And one thing I gotta say, after we cut the limbs off the bush a while ago, my sweetie says, I want to try it. I might not get this back. She really liked this for trimming bushes. So if you got a lady around that doesn't have a lot of arm strength and you can't use a handsaw, you can't use the limb loppers for the larger limbs, this thing was, for her, it was very easy to use, convenient. You can get into where you need to go. It's just a great little tool. So let's proceed on to talking about the pros and cons of this tool. Now I'm getting ready to start about the pros and cons. And while we're still out here in the yard, I want to show you one negative. It's not a big deal, but it's something I wanted to show you that happened to me. This stump here is kind of half cut off, and I was cutting on it some. And I did cut it, but what happened when I was cutting, the guide here at one point got underneath and come back in like that. And the chain actually chewed into my guide there a little bit. I'll take a close-up of this and show you what happened to the guide. So when you're cutting on something like this and you start, basically the problem was it was a large piece of wood. This thing's not really made for cutting stuff this wood, but I was, testing it out. And the guide got under like that when I was cutting. And the guide's not strong enough to hold itself away from the chain real good. The guide could have been designed a little bit differently. I do like it. It needs to be there for your protection. But just be aware that when you're cutting things that it can get down in the wood and the chain gets against it. So just be aware of that when you're cutting. I don't see that as being a big deal, but it is something you need to be aware of. And like I said, I'll put a picture of that up in the corner. Now for the rest of my review, and I just started out in the front yard with the guide issues, the biggest complaint that I've seen online searching forums and stuff is battery life. They say the batteries just don't last long enough. In searching the Stihl chainsaw website, they do have a page on there that talks about how long it takes to charge the battery. If the battery is completely dead, they say 50 minutes will give you an 80% charge, 70 minutes will give you 100% charge. So you get to use this thing for 15 or 20 minutes and charge it for an hour. I see that as a negative. The batteries right now are hardly available as an extra. In my searching, I didn't find any where I could buy a second battery as of now. I'm sure in time that will change. But if you get one of these, you should seriously think about, trying to get a second battery. We did a little trimming out front. We trimmed one of our bushes. We cut a couple logs with it. And we're down to 75% power. You can see on the little meter there, we got 3 out of 4 LEDs. So we still got 75% power in our battery. So what we've done, it held up fine. I think this is a great tool. And I got to tell you a quick little story. When I brought this home yesterday, my sweetie says, or she told me later, she's thinking to herself, that thing looks like a joke. But after we were out in the side of the house and we videotaped me trimming that bush, she says, I want to try that. So she gets over there and she trims a couple limbs off, and I'm not sure I'm going to get this back now because she just fell in love with it. It's that good a tool. If you got tree limbs or bushes around your house that need to be trimmed, if they're any size, you can't cut them with limb loppers. You can get a bow saw or something, but you just work yourself silly. To this thing, you just pull that little lever down, you pull the trigger, and you cut it off and you're done. I mean, you'll spend more time calling the brush off than you spent trying to trim the thing. So it's a great little tool. I really like it. My biggest negative is the battery, and that's about the only negative I've really got. A little bit about the guide. It should be a little bit sturdier. The batteries, it should come with 2 batteries. I mentioned earlier the charger. It doesn't tell you in the manual what happens when the battery's fully charged. The light just turns off when it's fully charged. Not a big deal. The oiler, I like that. I like the way the chain adjusts. It just works really nice. Now, the case, I like the case. I think it's really cool that they include a case. I wish it had ends in it. Once you put stuff in here, you know, there's straps that everything fits under, so the stuff's going to stay in there. But it just seems like it would be nicer to me if the case had ends to it. But it is a nice little case. So all in all, I give this thing a big thumbs up. I think it's a real cool little tool. And I think any homeowner that has bushes that need to be trimmed or a few tree limbs that they need to trim off, it would be worth the expense to get one of these things because it's such a time saver. If you've got much at all to trim, it's a real time saver. So that's my review of this little Stihl GTA26 battery powered cordless limb trimmer chainsaw thing, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, if you find this video useful, please click like and share it with your friends, and please subscribe to our channel. It helps us grow. And we'd just like to say thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne, and we hope you have a great day.